Hello and welcome back to Closely Observed English. Here is another writing feedback video, and again we're looking at C1 Advanced, and today we'll be looking at a report. I'm playing around with these Zoom video filters. For some reason they thought it would be really nice to have an empty armchair with nobody sitting in it and a big picture, as if you would ever do that to your wall. Interesting. So here is our report, and first we're going to take a look at the rubric over on the side just here. The task says you've been studying in an English-speaking country for some time as part of an educational exchange. The director of the exchange program is interested in improving the experience for future students. He's asked you to write a report outlining why you have been doing the exchange, describing what you like and dislike about it, and making recommendations for how it could be improved. So as always, we have our 3 content points, and in a report, it's very important to highlight what they are so that we know what we're going to put as our headings. So the first thing is why you've been doing the exchange. Then we look at what you like and dislike, and then recommendations for the future. Okay, so let's take a look at this candidate's response. They start with the introduction. The purpose of this report is to express my opinion and reasons about participating in this educational exchange and outlining the positive and negative aspects of it as well. Okay. Reasons for doing the exchange. I've always wanted to visit Spain and get up close and personal with citizens there, and through integration learn more about their educational system and globalization as well. At the same time, I had an opportunity to improve my Spanish, moreover my Italian. In addition, I enjoyed the sightseeing as much as the going into nature as part of our program. Positive and negative aspects. As I am part of such an exchange related to exploring nature and its depths, I realize that it is commonly believed that there is nothing we can do to reverse the damage we already as a mankind caused. Our efforts as students to understand this gigantic brain called nature will not go to waste once we disseminate what we already know. Knowing it would be a challenge persuading people to maybe take an action and participate in our causes. We hope for the best outcome. For me, the benefits of doing this exchange far outweigh the disadvantages. As a result, I believe that I will return to my country with innovative solutions for the local environment. The negative aspect from my point of view is that the program is not financially supported good enough, and as a consequence, this will put off some of the willing exchange students. Okay. Recommendations, finally. I strongly recommend that the government should take part in such exchanges as financial supporter for the students which families are unable to afford the program. Being a keen nature lover myself, I can only imagine how other mind-alike people would benefit from the program, and likewise the exchange will be loaded with considerable numbers of talented students. Okay, so let's assess the content first of all. Now, you notice that when we look at the rubric, a lot more information is given than we see in just the content points. So as always, there are 3 content points, and all 3 need to be addressed to secure those the content mark to the full extent. However, we still have to pay attention to the rest of the rubric. And if we look at it again, it says, you have been studying in an English-speaking country for some time as part of an educational exchange. Last time I checked, most of Spain was not an English-speaking country. You could argue that the south of Spain, the Costa del Sol of that, it's a bit of an English preserve these days because so many English people retire there, but Spain is not an English-speaking country. So right off the bat, we have a bit of a problem there in terms of addressing the content. Okay, but do we know why the person did the exchange? Yes, that's clear. Do we know what we like and dislike about it? No, not really. So if we look at this section here, all of this text seems to be about something different. It seems to be about the importance of nature, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about describing what you like and dislike about the program. So you're on an exchange program. What do you like and dislike about it? Next, it says, for me, the benefits of doing this exchange far outweigh the disadvantages. Okay, but what are the benefits? I still don't really know what they are. There is something about the negative aspect here, but that could be expanded on much more. So the idea for the negative part is that there isn't sufficient financial support for students, and this will put people off a little bit. Okay, but what do you mean that there's not financial support enough? Okay, so to solve this problem, we'll talk about it now rather than at the end of this video. So describe what you like and dislike. Keep it simple. You're in an English-speaking country, but you're not English. So perhaps what you like most is that the lessons help you integrate into that English-speaking society. You have a lot of authentic material in the lessons. You go out into the street and you experience life in that country with the help and security offered by your teacher. That could be a real positive of an exchange program. Instead of having lessons in, for example, Poland, where you do a book and you're in the classroom all the time, maybe on this exchange program, you go out into the real world and you interact with that world. That could be really good, and that would be a definite advantage. You could tweak this negative aspect and say that for people going from, for example, Poland to the UK, to take the UK as the English-speaking country, you might find that the costs associated with daily living are much greater than were expected, and it would be useful for the program to offer support there, either in terms of securing part-time work in the country or through some sort of sponsorship program. So that could be the disadvantage there. The recommendation would then give more details on how that could be affected, I suppose. So the recommendations are generally okay. This is the idea of offering a little bit more support. So that's not a problem. But when we look at the content, I would say that the fact that you've sent the student to Spain instead of an English-speaking country, that will count against you, because it's not right. It's not what we're supposed to be talking about. Some information about why you've done the exchanges there. We haven't learned enough about the second content point. The recommendations are fairly clear. So I'm going to say that we're looking at somewhere around a 3, maybe a 2. Because for a 3, minor irrelevances and or omissions may be present, and I would say that this content point has been effectively omitted. The target reader is not quite on the whole informed. I would say that there's a in between. Remember, band 2 is parts of 1 and parts of 3. Part 1, the band 1 here says target reader is minimally informed, and I felt that way a little bit. I wasn't really sure what the program was offering in terms of this. Okay, so that would be the problem there. Now, in terms of communicative achievement, if we start at band 3, we're looking at uses the conventions of the communicative task effectively. Okay, well, let's start there, shall we? The headings are good. The headings are a good indication of what the content should then be. Unfortunately, for the positive and negative aspects, that's not the case. We've already talked about that, so we don't need to continue hitting that area. The language is mostly formal, or at least neutral. In a report, that is expected. There is a bit of factual information, but it would be useful to add more in terms of, for example, statistics. Coming back to my idea about the negative aspect and the difference in living costs, you could quantify that. You could say that living costs in the UK are approximately 40% greater than they are in my home country, which means that I am unable to go out and do as much as I would like to do to take advantage of the program, something along those lines. In terms of communicating straightforward and complex ideas, we don't have a lot of that, because a lot of the middle paragraph, the positive and negative aspects, is not on the topic. So this is kind of a crossover with the content mark. And as a result, it doesn't communicate any worthwhile idea in the context of this task. Now, I feel that the person writing this is passionate about the environment and passionate about nature, and that is great. Be passionate, but don't be passionate when you're doing a writing task. Write with your head, not with your heart. If you want to write about this topic for your own sake, outside of the classroom, outside of the exam framework here, great, go ahead and do it. Write a blog post and share it. It would be wonderful to read that sort of thing. But in an exam task, do your job, and that is to get as many points as possible. You're paying for the exam, you want to get the best points you can get, and to do that you need to focus. exclusively on what the rubric wants. So I'm going to go for a band 2 here because in some places the ideas are communicated quite well, but in others they're not. In terms of organization, let's see, for a 3, text is well organized and coherent. It's reasonably coherent. Coherent is whether the ideas are presented in sentences that build so that the idea builds with the sentences. There is some aspect of that. If we forget about the content problems in this paragraph here, there are some nice variations in sentence structure. I like this: knowing it would be a challenge, persuading people to take an action and participate in our causes, we hope for the best outcome. Yeah, that's not too bad. There's good linking. So you've got, for me, blah, 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 as a result. That's good. The negative aspect, that's good organization, actually, moving from the positive to the negative that way. So that's okay. Again, in the recommendations, I like this: being a keen nature lover myself, I can only imagine, blah, blah, blah. I like that. I think that's good. So in terms of organizational patterns, the effect is good. So I'm going to say that that's probably worth a 3. And then we come to the language, which is always a sticking point. If we look at vocabulary first, and I'll get rid of some of my little marks on here. Let's go through and take a look at maybe some little bits of language here and there that are not maybe quite right. The one that stuck out straight away at the bottom here, very close, not mind alike, we say like-minded. I can only imagine how other like-minded people would benefit from the program, and likewise the exchange will be loaded with considerable numbers of talented students. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's generally okay, so that communicates the point quite well. I strongly recommend that the government should take part in such exchanges. Okay, well, they don't take part. The government wouldn't take part, it's students taking part. So that's the wrong choice of language there. Maybe we want to say that the government should contribute financial support in such exchanges to help students, not which families. It's possessive, and we want the possessive pronoun, so the students whose families are unable to afford the program. Okay, so if we take that one paragraph as an example, and I think it's fairly representative of the text as a whole, we've got some good language, which was also helped on our organization score, but we've also got some inappropriate word choice. Going throughout, there are some errors as we go through that don't quite impede communication, but it's more than just occasional errors. So we're going to be looking here at a band 2. So overall, we don't have a pass. We've got like a 3-2, 3-2. However, if you just take the same text and tweak it, get rid of the Spain aspect and move it to the UK so that you've got an English-speaking country. Get rid of the nature stuff and concentrate on the program, okay? Talk about the program and what you like and dislike, not about the learning outcomes, but the program itself. Talk about that. And very easily, by making those adjustments, you're going to be able to move the content from where it is now towards a 4 or a 5. And if you do that, that will then average out across the board to get you that pass. So this is not far off. There are things that could be done very, very easily. And we do find that with a lot of pieces of writing that students do a better job once they get in and do the rubric. If you focus on that rubric and get that sorted, you will have a better outcome in your grading. And on that note, I shall say farewell just there to the armchair. It's quite a nice armchair, actually. I wouldn't mind sitting there with a book to read for a little while. And I shall say goodbye for now. See you next time. Thank you.